Welcome back to another segment of the best monotype team for every game series. Last time we did ground, and today we have the fire type. I already know what everyone's thinking. Fire types in Diamond and Pearl. Am I right? Oh yeah, you're right. Diamond and Pearl are infamous for having no fire types to use. However, Pokemon Platinum is a little bit better. The fire type options available are all pretty offensively powerful though, and some even have good coverage pulls to help out in the situations where fire types otherwise wouldn't be so great. The fire type is also known to have some of the most powerful starters in the entire franchise, so with this in mind, you know these teams are going to be heat. No pun intended. Like usual though, before we begin, let me lay out some rules. These teams will be grouped by a regional basis. Fire Red and Leaf Green will represent Kanto, although these teams can be used for Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Let's Go. Platinum will represent Sinnoh, Heart Gold and SoulSilver, Johto, Black and White 2 will be their own separate things. X and Y, Kalos, Oras, Hoenn, Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, Alola, and you guys know the rest from there. These teams should still work for Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and in some cases, Diamond and Pearl and BDSP. But for the fire types, haha, that's a good one. No version exclusive Pokemon unless there's a similar choice in the other version. Example, Mandibuzz and Braviary. No trade evos unless Legends Arceus because of the new mechanic, no egg moves, etc. All the Pokemon featured on these are also available pre-post game. I will not be providing locations for all the Pokemon, but I might sometimes. I'll also not be showing what each Pokemon does well against, nor suggesting movesets. There will be move suggestions, just not full-blown movesets for each Pokemon. If I did all that, you guys know the video would go on for a very long time. Like usual, remember to leave what typing you guys want to see next down below. The typing with the most upvotes will be the one I cover next. Anywho though, let's begin with Kanto. Starting off with Kanto, we have Charizard, Arcanine/Ninetales depending on the version you're playing, Rapidash, Magmar/Growlithe for Fire Red, Moltres, and Flareon. For Kanto, we have a situation where realistically we only have 5 Pokemon, even though we do have a team of 6. Due to Magmar being version exclusive to Leaf Green, I decided to include a pre-evolution of a Pokemon being Growlithe if you're playing Pokemon Fire Red. Growlithe honestly isn't that bad, it does get Flame Wheel via level up. Or, if you are cool with duplicates, just evolve your Growlithe into a second Arcanine. The rest of the team is pretty self-explanatory. Charizard is a pretty good fire starter, even getting Flamethrower right before evolving. Of course, you can also fly on it. Arcanine and Ninetales are both actually pretty great, having decent attacking stats. Vulpix also gets Flamethrower via level up too. Rapidash is alright. You get it semi-late game, but 80 base special attack is gonna have to do it. If you're playing Leaf Green, Magmar is great. Having 100 base special attack is pretty nifty. Moltres is amazing, because you don't have to level it up much due to it being catchable at level 50. And lastly is Flareon, which in Gen 3 isn't the greatest because no physical special split. But due to options, we have to use it. I've used Flareon a few times and it wasn't that bad of an experience. Have fun getting the Flamethrower TM for some of these mons though. I think you're gonna need only around 2, and of course the game corner is where you get it. Or buy it, I should say. Here we go. The infamous Sinnoh region and its fire types. All I can say is thank God we are doing Pokemon Platinum. And surprisingly, the team is not that bad. Infernape, Rapidash, Flareon, Houndoom, Magmar, Monferno, or if you have access to trade, Magmortar. Infernape, I don't really need to hype up. Best fire type in the game, also has the fighting type, great stats, mixed attacker, y'all know the jazz. Rapidash I talked about already, however, now the physical special split is available. You can capture it pretty early, and Flame Wheel can be learned at level 15, which is pretty decent for a good chunk of the game I would say. Third is Flareon, and even though the physical special split is a thing now, it doesn't get Fire Fang till level 43, so have fun with special fire attacks in a gen where it was meant to get better. 43 isn't all that terrible though. I've talked about Houndoom before in a couple of best teams, and it's pretty good. That dark type will definitely be helpful too. Magmar is pretty much the same I said about it for Kanto. Funny enough, I actually prefer Magmar over its evolution too. Now, for the last 2 mons, I could only think of 2 options. Option 1, make sure your Chimchar is female when you receive it as your starter. breed it with another Pokemon on your team, hatch another Chimchar, and use Monferno. To be honest, 81 speed, 78 special attack and physical attack is pretty good for a middle stage Pokemon. Option 2. If you have access to trade, capture a second Magmar and evolve it into Magmortar. I usually wouldn't talk about trade, but in the case of only having 5 Pokemon, I think it's okay. The Magmarizer can also be found below Veilstone City. So yeah, Plat, despite being in Sinnoh, has much better options than regular Diamond and Pearl. Moving over to the other side of Gen 4, we have Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like usual, we have our starter, being Typhlosion, Arcanine/Ninetales depending on what version you're playing, Magmar, Flareon, Rapidash, and Entei. Typhlosion is pretty solid all things considered, and in Gen 4, they gave it a really solid level up pool, even getting Flamethrower at level 42. Rapidash is alright, but you can't get it until right before the Elite Four. Regardless, due to options, this is what we got. Eevee can also be evolved into Flareon by getting a Firestone via the Pokeathlon Dome. The rest of the mons I've spoken about aside from Entei. Entei is a dope legendary to use for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, because you get access to it right when it leaves the Burn Tower. I'll leave a video in the description below if you guys want a guide on how to capture it, but I'm pretty sure a good chunk of you guys has done this method before though. Time for Black and White. We got Emboar, Simisear, Darmanitan, Chandelure, Volcarona, and Victini. And another alternate option if you're playing Pokemon Black would be Reshiram. Now, out of all these members, the one that sticks out the most to you is definitely Victini, right? To answer you, yes, you can get it. If you've seen the best Psychic type team for every game, I linked a video in the description on how to get Victini. You guys in the comment section also confirmed it was possible to get Victini. So once again, I will leave that video down below. Victini has 100 base stats across the board, alongside the dope combo of Fire and Psychic. I'm gonna say it will more than likely be this team's MVP. The rest of the mons are very good, aside from Simisear, which is only here due to options. Okay, it's actually decent for in-game, but I still dislike its design. And so is Japan. Doesn't have a bad learn set though. Darmanitan is a physical powerhouse, and odds are, if you've played Black and White or Black and White 2, you've used it on your team already. Chandelure is one of my favorite Pokemon to use, and with that sick combo of Fire and Ghost plus its arsenal of moves, it's pretty sweet. Volcarona is a very, very good Pokemon. The problem is that you'll be using a Larvesta a good chunk of your playthrough, but if you have the patience, once it evolves, it will definitely be worth it. Be prepared to use PP-ups on its Fire Blast though. Reshiram is also available as an option, if you're playing Pokemon Black and you don't want to wait to use Volcarona. And you know what? I just forgot. I totally forgot about Emboar. Sorry buddy, my bad. Great physical attack and a very underrated starter. Odds are you've used Emboar before, so I won't waste too much time talking about it. Not as good as the other two firefighters, but I definitely would not sleep on it. For Black and White 2, the team is pretty much the same, aside from a few members, Arcanine and Magmar. What's cool about Growlithe is it's available straight out of the Verbank complex, which is very early. Victini, once again, I will leave the vid in the description below, as I'm pretty positive this method works for Black and White 2 as well. With Magmar, it is exclusive to Black 2, so I leave that option in there for those who don't want to wait for Volcarona. I will say though, in my bug type vid, I made a minor mistake and underestimated Volcarona's power, so it'll pretty much carry you late game. You know, for Kalos, I usually praise this part for the plethora of Pokemon available, and this time is pretty much no different. Delphox, Talonflame, Charizard, Houndoom, Chandelure, and Torkoal. Delphox has access to the Psychic type, which makes it a pretty useful contender for this team. Stats-wise, it's decent. Move pool and learn set wise, it's also pretty good, due to that Psychic typing. Talonflame isn't bad, I just wish it had Gale Wings as its regular ability versus its hidden. Still pretty good though on both the stat and move end. Charizard is third, and with its access to Mega Evolution, I can guarantee it will carry you. Zard X and Y are equally amazing, plus you get it at a good point in the game. I've spoken about Houndoom and Shandy already, but their dual types will come in handy. So that leaves Torkoal, and though it is slow, it's also super defensive and can hold its own. I've never used one in Kalos, but I have used it in Hoenn, and I did really enjoy using it. Hoenn is one of those cases where we are limited to only 5 options. Honestly though, Who even cares when you have Mega Blaziken who can pretty much solo the entire game? I could just leave this entry here and be done with it, but I'm sure you guys want at least 4 more members. Camerupt, Torkoal, Ninetales, and Metcargo. Torkoal and Ninetales are fine, I've talked about them before. Camerupt I also brought up on the ground type teams, and it's actually got a solid level up pool despite it being slow. It's usable, and I would say it's actually pretty good. This thing though, yeah, you could skip it if you want. I only put it here because of options. There's really nothing positive I can say about it. If you have anything positive to say about it, do tell. For Pokemon Sun and Moon, the team is going to be Incineroar, Arcanine, Salazzle, Alolan Marowak, Magmar/Talonflame, and Turtonator. For Incineroar, I will say the same exact thing I said in the Dark type team vid. It's a very good Pokemon for these games, and I'm super happy it has the dual typing of Fire and Dark here. I've used Incineroar a few times for Alola, and it never disappoints. The stats are pretty good, and I love the move options it has available to use. Salazzle is one of my favorite design mons for Alola, and it's pretty fun to use in-game as well. Fire and Poison does leave it quad weak to ground, but regardless, it's still good stat-wise, and it can set up with Nasty Plot. Alolan Marowak is dope as heck. It's definitely, in my opinion, a better Pokemon in competitive. Giving it a Thick Club will ultimately make it a beast though. I will leave a video down below on where to get the Thick Club. The rest of the mons I've talked about before, other than Turtonator. Turtonator is a Fire Dragon type, decent level up pool, and alright stats. Just, good luck against Lana's trial. That's all I can say. For Ultra Sun and Moon, it's the same exact team aside from Volcarona. For my bug type vid, I used Volcarona too. It can be found via SOSing for Larvesta in the Lush Jungle, though it has no special fire type attacks for a long time, and your best option is going to be Ember. Actually, I'm wrong. It's got access to Fiery Dance via Move Relearner, but the Move Relearner is on Mount Lanakila, and the TMs it gets access to for good Fire Stab are mainly late game, I believe. Signal Beam can be taught though via the Heihei Beach Move Tutor. Galar has quite the mix of Pokemon due to the implement of the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC. The team is Cinderace, Arcanine, Centiskorch, Chandelure, Turtonator, and Charizard Gigantamax. Cinderace is a superstar, in-game and competitive. Great stats, etc., even without the hidden ability for an in-game run. Centiskorch is really cool. It's not Volcarona, but it's still pretty damn good. I believe it was in the best team as well. It's got great physical attack and pretty nice bulk. Charizard can also be obtained here, and it's a G-Max one, so that's even cooler. Lastly, for Legends Arceus, we got Hisui and Typhlosion, Infernape, Rapidash, Hisui and Arcanine, Ninetales, and Magmar. Hisui and Typhlosion is similar to its Johtonian counterpart. Decent stats, and a bigger move pool now with the addition of the ghost typing. Hisui and Arcanine is the only other Pokemon from this team I haven't talked about yet. Like Arcanine, this pup is awesome, and now it's equipped with the rock type. Still good stats, and its move pool solid too. For Volo, best of luck. Well, that wraps up the best fire type teams for every game. Fire Pokemon are pretty powerful, and these teams are fairly fast with hyper offense. Just be wary that in some situations, especially against Mallow and Volo, you might have a hard time. But like I said before, good luck. I especially like the fact though that I could give Victini exposure again. Victini's freaking awesome. Anywho though, what type would you guys like me to do next? Remember, the comment with the most upvotes will be the one I cover next time.